distinguished newspaper. And the newspaper of the year in this category, being honored for the 6th year in a row, the Ellsworth American of Ellsworth, Maine. Specialty newspapers. Distinguished the Providence Business News. And Banker and Tradesman from Boston. Newspaper of the year for the 2nd year in a row, Worcester Magazine. Weekday edition, circulation less than 10,000. Being honored for the 4th year in a row, and this time as a distinguished newspaper, the Taunton Daily Gazette. Also distinguished the Westerly Sun of Westerly, Rhode Island. And the newspaper of the year, the Gloucester Daily Times. We're taking a photo break. See, this is unusual because in our business, we're more used to taking pictures of other people and not actually being in them. And we're almost caught up. Okay, we're ready to roll on with the weekday edition, circulation 10,000 to 15,000. Distinguished newspaper, the Recorder of Greenfield, Massachusetts. And after 2 years of being distinguished, the Metro West Daily News is the newspaper of the year. Newspaper of the year, weekday edition, circulation 15,000 to 20,000. Distinguished is the Burlington Free Press of Burlington, Vermont. And newspaper of the year, the Standard Times of New Bedford. Newspaper of the year, weekday edition, circulation 20,000 to 35,000. Distinguished, the Day of New London, Connecticut. Also distinguished, the Sun Journal of Lewiston, Maine. And newspaper of the year in this category, the Patriot Ledger of Quincy, Massachusetts. Weekday edition, circulation more than 35,000. Distinguished, the Republican of Springfield, Massachusetts. Also distinguished, the Republican American of Waterbury, Connecticut. Newspaper of the Year, the Providence Journal. Newspaper of the Year, Sunday edition, circulation less than 20,000. Distinguished, the Weekend Daily Hampshire Gazette of Northampton, Massachusetts. The Metro West Daily News of Framingham. And being honored for the third year in a row, our Newspaper of the Year, the Valley News of West Lebanon, New Hampshire. Almost caught up. It's like a big family picture. All right, let's move right along. Newspaper of the Year, Sunday edition, circulation 20,000 to 30,000. Distinguished paper, the Sunday Eagle Tribune of North Andover, Massachusetts. And the Newspaper of the Year in this category is the Sun Journal of Lewiston, Maine. Sunday edition, circulation 30,000 to 45,000. Distinguished paper, the Cape Cod Times of Hyannis. And the Newspaper of the Year, the Republican American of Waterbury, Connecticut. And our last category in Newspaper of the Year, Sunday edition, circulation more than 45,000. Distinguished paper, the Hartford Courant, Hartford, Connecticut. And honored for the second year in a row, this time is Newspaper of the Year, the Telegram and Gazette of Worcester, Massachusetts. Now we move on to public occurrences. Established in 1990, the Public Occurrences Award recognizes individual and team merit at New England newspapers to mark the founding of the Public Occurrences, which is America's first newspaper. It's an interesting note that 4 days after it first appeared in Boston, the royal governor banned the publication. And I suspect there are probably some government officials who wish that they could ban some publications, but they can't. Our first Public Occurrence Award goes to the Hartford Courant for Portraits of an Addict. Some of the most effective, most moving stories the media can produce are those that humanize issues. It is the way journalists are able to take an important issue and tell the public Here's why you should care. The Hartford Courant did that in its series profiling real people who died of heroin overdoses. Judges said the stories put a personal touch and names and faces to an addiction that personalizes even the most well-intended of its victims. Let's give a round of applause to the Hartford Courant. Our next Public Occurrences Award goes to the I, New England Center for Investigative Reporting, Out of the Shadows. Newspapers have a responsibility to be the voice for those in our society whose voices are either not heard, or even worse, were ignored. The New England Center for Investigative Reporting shined a big bright light on the horrid lack of effective care being provided to children living under the umbrella of state care in Massachusetts. The reporting and the graphics were so powerful, state officials started making changes even before the series was finished running. Let's give a big round of applause to the New England Center for Investigative Reporting. Our next Public Occurrence Awards is for the Sentinel and Enterprise of Fitchburg, Mass., the alphabet. How we educate our children, of course, is important. Newspapers have a responsibility to let the public know what needs to be improved, but also to share what works. Judges called the alphabet awesome, cool, nifty, superb, and most original. If newspapers are about literacy, then this series is the ultimate. Congratulations to the Sentinel and Enterprise. Our next Public Occurrences Award is for the day in New London, Connecticut. I-95, deadly overcrowded. When we all leave here today, chances are pretty good that we will experience the misery that our highways have become. The day took what most of us already know, that I-95 was a pathetic mess. It is. And they used data, interactive graphics, and human interest sidebars to better explain the causes of our shared frustration and misery. Let's give a round of applause for a series well done, The Day. Next, we honor the Providence Journal for Race in Rhode Island. The Journal did an excellent job during its year-long reporting on race relation problems in Rhode Island. Judges said, this series is all-encompassing on the variety of races in the state, and the results had a significant impact for change in the communities and throughout Rhode Island. Today we honor the Providence Journal. Let's give them a round of applause. Our next Public Occurrences Award goes to the Daily Hampshire Gazette of Northampton, Massachusetts for Letters from Inside. Most people have a stereotypical view of what life is like for those in prison, for who's in prison, and why they're there. The TV shows that focus on life in prison really amount to only one side of the story. The Gazette presented a different view, running a unique feature of letters from inmates at a local jail. The inmates shared their life stories of what life was like for them before jail, what life was like in jail, and what their dreams are for what life will be like when they are released from jail. The judges were captivated by the emotions and the philosophy of those living behind bars. Let's give a round of applause for the Daily Hampshire Gazette. Next, we honor the Sun Journal of Lewiston, Maine. Benefit lottery, growing form of fraud, EBT cards to buy drugs. The Journal did an effective job shining a light on people addicted on drugs, trading their EBT cards to dealers and other criminals, and then reapplying for new cards so that they may trade them again. Thanks to this series, officials in Maine changed state laws, resulting in a savings of millions of dollars for the taxpayers. Let's give a round of applause to the Sun Journal. Our next public occurrences award for the Burlington Free Press of Burlington, Vermont. DCF employees slain and buried. The Burlington Free Press did a great job providing coverage of a tragic series of events resulting in a social worker being gunned down by a woman who had lost custody of her child. Making matters worse, 3 members of that woman's family were found gunned down the next day. As hard as this story is, and was, the Burlington Free Press did a tremendous job of sharing this story with the public. Let's give a round of applause to the Burlington Free Press. They almost had me in the photo, and I don't think they really want that. Our next award goes to the Republican, Springfield, Massachusetts. Opioid crisis, the Justin Morin story. The Republican took a different approach to covering the opioid crisis. They looked at addiction and criminal justice system through the journey of one case involving a young man convicted of manslaughter in the death of his best friend. It was a frank investigation looking at the emotions on all sides of this tragic case, and it was topped off with a fine editorial. Let's give a round of applause to the Republican. Our next public occurrences award is for the Herald News of Fall River, Massachusetts. The future of Fall River. The Herald News took an active role in presenting an in-depth examination of Fall River's future. All sectors from art, social media, print, and a community advisory board were used to pull together this creative and very helpful piece of journalism. It was being involved in the community in a different way than newspapers usually do. Let's give a round of applause to the Herald News. Our next public occurrences award goes to the Hartford Courant of Hartford, Connecticut. Soccer Stadium Investigation. Jenna Careslio and Matthew Kaufman did a great job exposing the criminal background of two would-be developers hoping to stuff thousands of dollars into their pocket under the guise of building a soccer stadium. The reporters also exposed the city's wink-and-nod process that allows this type of a fraud to occur. As a result of their investigation, the two crooked businessmen were indicted and one city official had to resign. When people ask, are newspapers still needed? Do they still play a relevant role in our society? All you have to do is just look at this excellent piece of investigative journalism to see that the answer is yes. Let's give a round of applause to the Hartford Times. Next paper that we will honor is the Maine Center for Public Interest Reporting. Lottery, selling hope to the hopeless. For the vast majority of people, buying lottery tickets is a gigantic waste of money. States don't peddle lotteries because they have a desire to make you wealthy. They do it because they want to get a lot of money to put in the state coffers. The Maine Center for Public Interest Reporting took statistics and turned them into a wonderful story showing how the state of Maine targets the poor with a giant pile of false hopes and dreams. Those who can least afford it are the lottery's biggest customers. Let's give a round of applause to the Maine Center for Public Interest Reporting for an excellent story. Now we move to the weeklies for public occurrences. Our first honoree is the Vineyard Gazette of Martha's Vineyard, Massachusetts, Coastal Ponds Under Pressure. In a 9-part series, the Vineyard Gazette goes over every aspect of the continuing threat to coastal saltwater ponds. Judges said this series defines the true spirit of the Public Occurrences Award. Reporter Alex Elvin is to be congratulated for writing a series worthy of the science section of the New York Times, and photographer Tim Johnson should be praised for the photographs that are both beautiful and relevant. Congratulations to the Vineyard Gazette. Our next award goes to the Inquirer and Mirror of Nantucket. Ethics, the Land Bank, and a Public Trust. The Inquirer and Mirror showed investigative reporting at its very best. They exposed the conflict of interest problem on the island when it comes to the land bank. Judges said, by going beyond basic reporting and advocating for a ruling by the State Ethics Commission on conflict of interest, the staff of the Inquirer and Mirror serves its community in the truest form of solid journalism. Let's give a round of applause to the Inquirer and Mirror. And the last, but certainly not least, of our Public Occurrences Awards goes to the Andover Townsmen of Andover, Mass. Opiate crisis hits home. The opiate crisis is one hitting every community. The Andover Townsman is a great model of how it can be covered in a thorough, thoughtful way that really serves the public. Judges said, not only did the newspaper chronicle the many tragic overdoses and deaths, it also put a human face on their account by relaying the impact and heartache through the eyes of mothers who lost their sons because of addiction. This series is an example of community journalism at its best. Congratulations to the Andover Townsmen. And to all our Public Affairs Award winners. Next, we move on to the 2016 Alan B. Rogers Editorial Award. This year's winner is the Providence Journal, a fraud, a farce, a dog and pony show by Ed Acorn. The Alan B. Rogers Award does recognize the best editorial on a local subject. This year's winning editorial, which ran on May 22nd, slammed the Rhode Island Speaker of the House for conducting cynical show hearings on a scam called community service grants. Those turned out to be nothing more than a giant slush fund for legislators to dole out goodies to their favorite groups. Judges said that the editorial is notable for the clarity of its moral outrage expressed in vivid language with delicious specificity. And exposed legislators by name, accusing them of standing in the way of progress. He even made it easy for the public to express their own outrage by listing the legislators' phone numbers. Good editorials don't just talk about the problems, they also convey solutions. In this case, the solution was call for a constitutional amendment to give the governor a line item veto. The speaker wasn't overjoyed by this editorial and expressed his displeasure with the Journal on the floor of the House. The Journal, along with continued coverage of this scam, resulted in hundreds of calls and letters to legislatures. The slush fund grant program was cut in half from $12 million to $6 million, a beginning to cleanse the stench of these grants. For a job well done in bringing this interesting program out into the open, let's give a round of applause to the Providence Journal and to Ed. Next, it is my great honor and privilege to present the award named after him, the Morley L. Piper First Amendment Award, which recognizes the New England newspaper for its exceptional work in upholding the First Amendment and educating the public about it. Let's give a warm round of applause to our good friend, Morley L. Piper.
Thanks very much. It's real nice to be here. I see a lot of old friends. Brings back a lot of memories. I want to point out again this year, as I usually do, that the award for the First Amendment will not be presented by a posthumous figure. I wonder if you'd like to hear a little political story, since we're in the height of the election season. This is sort of a gentle election story compared to the harsh ones we hear now. It's not about the presidential campaign at all. It's about an association election we held one year at the old New England Newspaper Association, a predecessor organization to our current NENPA. These association elections, I'm sure you all know, are almost never contested, or everybody runs unopposed. This one year, however, the nominating committee nominated for president a controversial publisher who was not very popular. And there were complaints and grumblings, and finally, a threat that there'd be an opposition candidate. The official candidate was made nervous by this, and he came to me and he said, "Can't you go around to some of these publishers and see if you can't get some support for my cause?" And somewhat reluctantly, I said I would. And so I made the rounds for 2 or 3 weeks of various publishers, heading to lunch, and gained quite a little support for the guy. And I went back to him and I said, "Well, looks pretty good." I said, "I think you're in good shape. I don't think you have anything to worry about." But he was not mollified. He said, "I don't want you to leave anything to chance." He said, "I want you to keep going, keep pushing on this. So I see if you can't see everybody." And I said, "There are an awful lot of people." By this time, I was a little tired of it, and I run up some pretty good restaurant checks and bar bills, taking publishers to lunch. So I thought about it and I said, "Well, you know, to tell you the truth, that I don't mind buying an election, but damned if I'm going to pay for a landslide." Today, we will again honor a New England newspaper as an exemplary example of First Amendment defense. Think about the 4 fundamental rights that the First Amendment provides: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of the press, freedom of the citizens to assemble. If you think about those, you will realize they are under constant attack. We see it in the papers, every possible media, every day, in every way possible. From small town boards trying to conceal something to national and international incidents. In the press, it affects us mostly in gathering information and battling against its suppression, keeping government transparent and those running government honest. So it is inspiring and reassuring to see New England newspapers in the forefront of freedom of the press efforts. The entries to the competition this year were strong, very strong as usual. The judges are from the First Amendment Institute of the Museum. And one of the judges was Gene Policinski. I'm sure a lot of you know. Probably, perhaps, the foremost figure, or foremost First Amendment authority in the newspaper world. Now, the winner this year is the Sun Journal of Lewiston, Maine. Their entry was the story of the Sun Journal's efforts to prevent the Maine court system from sealing records of dismissed criminal cases. It was a standout. The story was essentially about a battle of interpretation of Maine state law. It was a beautiful illustration of the press performing its watchdog function. And it's my pleasure today to present the award to Judy Meyer, the executive editor of the Sun Journal.
A couple of years ago, Bob Wallach passed away. And coming to the last couple of Denver events, doesn't seem the same without him, without his presence, without his sense of humor and all that he brought to this organization and to journalism, to not have him as part of that. Fortunately, he still lives, or his spirit still lives, through the Bob Wallach Community Journalism Award. This award recognizes an individual who has an exceptional record of commitment to community journalism. It celebrates the accomplishments of someone who, over a sustained period of time, has faithfully served the community for which they are responsible and has played an active, constructive role in contributing to its quality of life. This year's winner of that award is Stanley Moulton, the online managing editor and internship coordinator for the Daily Hampshire Gazette. Stanley started his career as a reporter for the Berkshire Eagle in 1972. In 1976, he was hired by the Daily Hampshire Gazette, where he has served as a reporter, sports editor, city editor, and news editor. In 2010, he moved up to his current role as the online managing editor and as the internship coordinator. He has played a role in the evolution of the paper throughout the years and is well respected by many people. In his role as internship coordinator, one that he has held for 25 years, he has had the great honor of helping what will become the new generation of journalists, helping those people to get a taste of what it's like to be in this business. Those students have been fortunate to have someone with the dedication, the passion, and the wisdom that are all a big part of who Stan is. In one of the many, many nomination letters received in support of Stan, retired editor Jim Foudy said, "Stan brought great passion to every role, dispatching reporters and photographers when news broke, challenging their copy, identifying good enterprise projects, pressing for public records, maintaining high professional standards, stepping up to the challenge of digital and hustling, always hustling to get the story first and to get it right." I can think of no major story covered by the Gazette in those 35 years that Stan was not involved in some way. Former publisher continues, "The professional awards that he has earned and those earned by the Gazette thanks to his work are one way to measure this work. The tributes from interns and young reporters he trained are another. Most important is the high regard and deep respect Stan enjoys in Northampton for his 40 years of fair and comprehensive journalism and service to this community." We honor today a true professional who has added a lot to this profession, Stan Moulton.
thanks. I want to thank those on the selection committee who are responsible for this. It's a real honor to have an award, to receive an award in the name of Bob Wallach, really a consummate newspaperman, a publisher, editor, and reporter who was known for his role in the community. And when I think about my journey, what's got me here with you today, I really think about the fact that as my career unfolded in the 1970s, I had a lot of Bob Wallach-like figures who I learned from. I'm very, very fortunate to have worked in the newsrooms of some of the real giants in newspaper publishing families here in New England. Bill Roach, Paul Cummings, weekly papers up in New Hampshire, the legendary Pete Miller at the Berkshire Eagle, and Pete and Charlie DeRose at the Gazette, who were third generation of their family to publish the Gazette until we were acquired, become part of the newspapers in New England about a decade ago. Those were all publishing families who were deeply rooted in their communities and who also understood the value of a vigorous journalism that really contributed to the health and the fabric of that community. And I think that those are the values that it's important for us who are in a position of mentoring young journalists, the next generation, to continue on, to understand the importance of community journalism and shining a light where it's necessary, giving voice to the voiceless, and engaging our readers in conversation and debate that really elevates a well-informed citizenry. And in particular, I want a number of people here from my current colleagues at the Gazette and throughout newspapers in New England, but I want to particularly recognize Jim Foodie, whose words were read. Jim and I worked together for 35 or so years at the Gazette, now retired, and I'm very happy that Jim's here today with us. Thank you.
Next is the A.P. Sutherland Brown New England Journalist of the Year Award. This is presented by the New England Society of News Editors. It is my great honor and privilege to introduce you to the president of that society, somebody who I learned a lot from during my career. But let's welcome Richard Lodge.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Wayne, for yet again another year of great announcing and emceeing at the awards. Before I introduce this year's A.P. Sutherland Brown New England Journalist of the Year, I want to note the death this year of Bill Malinowski, the 2014 winner of this award for his Cost of a Bullet series, which examined the cost of gun violence on society. Bill was a longtime reporter for the Providence Journal. He died from ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, at age 57 on August 11th. Last year, when Bill was still able to get around, he and his friend Dan Barry, who's a veteran New York Times reporter, who met Bill when they both worked at the Projo, they drove to Fenway Park to watch Bill's beloved Red Sox play the New York Skanks, as Bill called them. Dan Barry wrote about their trip in a great, funny, and very poignant piece in the Times last October that I would highly recommend. With the Sox opening the playoffs tonight against the Indians in Cleveland, I think we can guess who Bill would be rooting for were he here today. Please join me in a moment of silence in memory of Bill Malinowski and all the journalists in New England who died in the past year. Thank you. I'm very happy to present the A.P. Sutherland Brown New England Journalist of the Year Award. It's an award bestowed by the New England Society of News Editors. It recognizes an individual for producing journalism of distinction in New England in the past year. The award's named in honor of Sir Ellen Brown, the late editor and publisher of the Providence Journal-Bulletin, founder of the American Press Institute, fellow of the Academy of New England Journalists, and past president and founder of New England Associated Press News Editors Association. This year's Sir Ellen Brown Award winner is Douglas Moser of the Eagle Tribune. In selecting Moser, the judges praised the 6-month investigation of the Northern Essex Registrar of Deeds. Doug Moser's reporting, quote, done in the finest traditions of accountability journalism, exposed how the registrar was putting in fewer than 4 hours of work per day while taking home a salary of nearly $110,000 a year. Moser tailed Registrar Paul Iannicello for weeks, catching him coming into the office late, leaving very early, and running personal errands and campaigning for cronies in between. After Moser confronted Iannicello and Secretary of State Bill Galvin, whose office is supposed to oversee the registers of deeds, a new assistant registrar was appointed to run the office and keep an eye on the registrar, and other changes were made. For his dogged, old-fashioned, pit-bull approach and his determination to shine a little sunlight into one of the murkier corners of the Commonwealth, Douglas Moser is a winner of the 2016 AP Sir Ellen Brown New England Journalist of the Year Award. And now to present the award, I'd like to welcome Mike Donahue, former longtime reporter for the Burlington Free Press, and himself, the 2013 winner of the Sir Ellen Brown Award.
Sorry, I wasn't, I didn't know I was going to be saying a few words today. I'd like to especially thank my editors for giving me the leash to run amok for weeks at a time over the course of this project. It's vitally important journalism, and I'm honored to be able to do it, and that it did have an impact in our area. While I have the ear of a couple of editors, I'd like to urge all of you to, I know resources are tight, and newsrooms are stretched thin, but just to take a little bit of time and try to get a reporter out for a few days, for a few weeks, to do work like this. It's really tough, but it's still vitally important. Thank you.
For a moment, I was in my other world, which is public speaking. And we have this thing where we never leave the podium unattended. It's committed this thing. So when I saw it empty, it's like, oh no, I can't get up there and not break that rule. And then I remembered, oh no, this is newspapers. You can do that. You don't need to worry about that here. Now, that brings to an end all our awards. I want to thank all the newspapers that competed this year. We do have a lot of interesting sessions for you this afternoon, so don't rush to go sit in 995. Stay here. We have trends in newspaper business as seen through the eyes of the Neiman Journalism Lab. We also have social media mayhem. And tonight is NESNY's 60th anniversary celebration. Thank you all so much for attending. We look forward to seeing you during our winter convention, which will be held February 24th and 25th in Boston, hopefully without any snow. But thank you all for coming. Have a wonderful time.